There's not many things that are certain in life, but one thing that is that one of these 7 teams will finish top 4 next year in the 2025 AFL season. Why is that? Well, we're going to talk about it right now. So over the last 30 seasons, 35 teams have made the top 4 who missed the finals completely the year before. So that's more than one every year, 35 times in 30 seasons. In 2024, Geelong made the top 4 after missing the finals the year before. In 2023, Port Adelaide made the finals after missing the finals in 2022. In 2022, Collingwood finished top 4 after finishing 17th the year before. In 2021, Melbourne, of course, won the premiership, finished top 4 after missing the finals completely the year before. And it goes on and on and on. Every year except 4 seasons, and overall 35 times 30 seasons, including a couple of years, 3 teams did it. 3 teams made the top 4 after missing the finals completely the year before. This happened in 1997 and 2007. So what does that mean? Well, if history is any guide, it means that one of these 10 teams, and let's eliminate it to 7 because we'll take Richmond, West Coast and North Melbourne out of it. You never know, but let's just try to be realistic. But one of these 7 teams, or maybe even 2 of them, will almost certainly finish in the top 4 next season. Who is it going to be? Well, let's have a look at them. So for starters, we've got the Adelaide Crows. Adelaide have been a pretty average team. They haven't made the finals since their grand final appearance in 2017. They've slowly been building, and they're putting together a reasonable list. I think it would be unlikely, though, if they were to make the top 4. But the thing is, it always seems unlikely. There's always a team that does it. They've been getting games into some of these younger players like Rochelle, Rankine, I think he was a top 5 player in the competition. Dawson's a really good player. Saligo, etc., etc. So they're building a reasonable team. I think there's probably too many teams ahead of them. But you couldn't totally write them off. I don't think they're going to do it. But the thing is, it always seems unlikely. It always seems unlikely. There's a team that does it every year. Like I said, it's happened 35 times in 30 years. I don't think it's going to be Adelaide, but they're one of the 7 teams that fits the profile of that team that can make the leap. They're not my tip, though. Next, we've got Melbourne, the Demons. I think the problem with Melbourne is that they still rely too much on their best players, and there are issues of potential cultural problems that you hear from the outside. If they can get that sorted out, their best 3 players, and we know who they are, Gawn, Petracca and Oliver, are among the best 3 in the competition. So, was last year an aberration? They fell down to 14th. I don't think they're going to be sliding back up the ladder again, but you never know. I mean, they've still got some pretty good players. Gawn, Petracca, May, Viney, Rivers. They've lost Neil Bullen, unfortunately for them. Oliver, Langdon, Salem, Tom McDonald, Van Rooyen, a good young forward. So Windsor and other players like this. So the issue is, can they improve more than everyone else? The problem with Melbourne is that other teams seem to have figured them out. They obviously peaked in 2021, and they've never, despite making the top 4 and going out in straight sets in the 2 years directly after that, they've never really been able to recapture that dominance. Teams have been able to figure them out, and I don't think they're going to be rising back up to the top 4. But like I said, there's always a team, and certainly they've got the top end talent if they can all gel together to potentially make the rise up the ladder. Next, we've got the Gold Coast Suns. Gold Coast are an interesting one with all their young academy picks, and they've assembled a really good list. They look like a team that is ready to make the leap. The issue is they've never even made the finals before, and it's always difficult for whatever reason for any team on the Gold Coast in any sporting code to perform. We don't quite know why that is. But teams on the Gold Coast generally just don't perform well. Could this be the year that it all comes together for them? They were pretty good last year. They were almost unbeatable at home. They've got really good, really good midfield in Anderson, Miller, Rao, others, and they've got pretty much all the components of a really good team. They've got the bookends at either end. They've got goal kickers. The issue with the Gold Coast is the culture. This is a team that's never achieved anything before. Can they make that leap to be able to do it? I mean, if Gold Coast's playing list was at one of the big Victorian clubs, you'd look at the list and think, yeah, they could be a top 4 team. But at the Gold Coast, with the culture down there, it's a bit different. Now, culture can change. Culture is, of course, learned behaviour, and you can alter that over time. I don't know if they're quite ready to do it, but you can't write them off. This is a team that is chock full of talent, and if they can improve their away record, they've got every chance of being that team that can make the leap from outside the finals to the top 4. We've got St. Kilda. St. Kilda is an interesting one. They've obviously coached by a really good coach, Ross Lyon. I think everyone rates Ross Lyon as a top line coach. Remember, 2 years ago they finished 6th. They got eliminated by GWS in that first final. Last year they missed the finals, but won 11 matches, so they weren't too far off the pace. The issue is the top end talent. Do they have enough top end talent? I think they've drafted pretty well. Players like Wanganeen, Miller, Rowan Marshall, Mason Wood, Windhager, Mitch Owens, Darcy Wilson, players like that. They've got a reasonable team, but top 4 is probably a bit beyond them. Could they be the team? I doubt it, but who knows? Then we've got Essendon, my club, the Bombers. Well, Essendon hasn't made the top 4 since 2001, which is an astonishingly long time when you think about it. I don't think Essendon will be able to do it. Look, my view on this is back history until history changes. So Essendon need to show some significant improvement. The key to Essendon making the leap up the ladder is the group of players in that 20 to 25 age group who've sort of played 30 to 50 games. Can they show their significant improvement to get them up the ladder? So I'm talking about players like Archie Perkins, Cox, Zach Reed, these sort of players. It just seems wishful thinking on my behalf as a Bombers supporter. I don't think so. Once again, they're in that middle range of the ladder where teams often do make the leap. But if you take the logic of back history until history changes, I doubt very much that we're going to be seeing Essendon in the top 4 in 2025. Next is Collingwood. Collingwood, you can never totally write off. We know that the Collingwood Army will get them over the line in at least a couple of games. The issue is they're the oldest team in the competition. And whilst a lot of those older players they've got are still very good, the problem is they're not going to get any better. There's going to be no improvement in those players. And really, it's hard to see a team who's the oldest team in the competition rising from 9th to 4th. So, Collingwood have been proving people wrong for 100 years. They're the kind of club that's had the wood on everybody, I guess, over the decades. But really, with their age profile and the lack of improvement in their top line older players, I don't think they're going to be making the top 4 in 2025. The next one, and I think the team who is going to do it, is the Fremantle Dockers. Fremantle has a team that really last year should have made the finals, and really they could have made the top 4 last year. They came pretty close in 2022. They finished 5th. That was the year, if you remember, Collingwood won all those really close games. And Fremantle finished 5th. So they really should have finished top 4 in 2022. The fact that they missed it last year was very disappointing. I thought last year, during the middle of the season, they were under the radar. And I thought they were a real chance, in a very even season, that they could have potentially played in the grand final. It didn't work out for them. They lost key games at the end of the year. They lost to Essendon, was a bad one towards the end of the season for them at the MCG. But they've got a team that's built via the draft, and they have established a group of young players, all in the peak of or coming towards the peak of their careers, who are in that 50, 70, 80 game range. Players like Caleb Sarong and Brayshaw, Jordan Clark, Luke Ryan, Hayden Young, these sort of players. Josh Treacy. It just goes on. They've got a pretty good team. They have no real history of success, so that's the thing. But they've just got a team that looks ready to peak, that just looks ready to make that leap. And I think they're motivated as well after what happened last season. They should never have missed the finals, really. And I think that's going to hold them in good stead over summer. So of all the teams in the AFL who missed the finals, remember 35 times in 30 years, more than once a year, a team who's missed the finals and made the top four. I think the most likely team to do that, and my tip to do it, is the Fremantle Dockers in 2025. What do you guys think? I know it seems unlikely often that any of these teams will make it, but back history until history changes. And if history is any guide, one of the 7 teams mentioned will make the top 4. Who do you think it's going to be? If you like this channel, please consider subscribing and have a great day.